What's going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to kind of just an extra SROS video. We're going to talk about the point guard slash guard prospects for the 2026 draft because I have had a lot of fun kind of diving into this class so far. There's 4 names in particular that I really want to talk about for this video, but I'm going to give some shouts to the guys at the end as well because we're still so early into this collegiate season where we're getting this whole players era tournament right now. It's feast week, obviously, in the college season. We're seeing a lot of big games so far this year. Like we've seen UConn play Arizona. We've seen Arizona play Florida. We've seen Duke play Texas. Duke play Kansas. We're seeing a lot of good games here in Vegas right now for the players era tournament. I was actually there on Monday. I was able to catch session number 1. First game was, why am I forgetting the first game? It was actually not a bad game. What was the first game? It was, okay, actually no, it was a terrible game. What am I talking about? It was Tennessee Rutgers. Native Ment looked good in that game, and then Native Ment kind of struggled a little bit against Houston yesterday, or on Tuesday. So you can kind of tell the Rutgers competition this year, it's not the best. So that one was a blowout, one-sided affair for Tennessee. And then the second matchup was Kansas Notre Dame. Marcus Burton has been good for Notre Dame this year. I was so excited to see Darryn Peterson in person. Couldn't see him there. I was actually going to go to the Champions Classic at MSG about a week ago when they played Duke, and then it was Michigan State against Kentucky. He was out for that game. I didn't end up going to it. And then I was able to watch Syracuse play Houston, which was a freaking electric matchup. Like, I was a couple rows behind Carmelo Anthony. He was there because Kyan Anthony's playing for Syracuse. And there's one player in particular that's kind of making me want to do this video, and that is Kingston Flemings so far for the Houston Cougars. Because so far this year, this guy has been on a skyrocketing just tour throughout his first 7 games to being one of the best guard prospects in this draft. So when I was doing my summer scouting, I kind of just go into like maybe 30-ish guys going into the collegiate season. I didn't really look into Kingston Flemings at all. Now, I know some outlets like Rivals had him as actually like their #1 point guard prospect. I didn't really hear anybody talking about Flemings. When you were talking about the 2 incoming freshmen at Houston, you were talking about Chris Sinak, the big, and Isaiah Harwell, the wing. They had their returning guys in like Emmanuel Sharp, JoJo Tugler, and Isaiah Harwell. But Flemings has an argument for being the best player on the Cougars so far throughout some solid competition this year as well. They beat Auburn, they beat Syracuse, they did recently lose to Tennessee, a good team. And that performance from Flemings really made me want to talk about him today because he has looked so shifty and so like calm and just comfortable with the ball in his hands, which, if you know anything about Kelvin Sampson, Houston freshman, they do not have a ton of opportunity right away. But no, Flemings has been kind of the lead ball handler. When I was up close in person watching Flemings, he looked strong. He looked big enough out there for about a 6'4" freshman, about 190 pounds. Looks like young, and he is young, right? So he looked the part out there. He was the 15th ranked recruit, so maybe that's just on my part for not really knowing too much about him going into the year according to the RSCI top 100. But so far this year, 17 points, 5 assists, 3.5 rebounds. He's shooting 64% from the field on about 10.5 attempts a night, 71% effective field goal percentage, 67% 2-point percentage as well, averaging about 2 turnovers and 1 foul. And something that I enjoy watching him at Houston is the defensive intensity, man. And it helps a ton that he plays with JoJo Tugler, one of the best shot blockers in the nation, and just like Miles Uzan and Sharp and these incredibly smart defenders. But he's looked the part in some good competition as well. So Auburn was probably their toughest test. Maybe too close for their liking against like Oakland or even against Lehigh as well. But against Auburn, 61% from the field. He can just get downhill with ease. And he's got great finesse around the rim. It looks a little bit like Murray State John Morant. It looks a little bit like Kentucky Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the way he's able to kind of use his bend to get in between defenders as he gets downhill around like the first guy on the perimeter as well. So against Auburn this year, a good Auburn team, not like as good as they were last year, but and still a respectable opponent. He had 22 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. No disrespect to Ryder, but not going to look too much into those games. For these top prospects, I don't tend to really watch against the small majors or maybe even some of the bad mid majors as well, because that competition is not even night and day from the NBA level. I don't even know a more obscure comparison. It's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I never played at that level, so I don't want to disrespect those guys at small majors. They're all a million times better than me at basketball, but if I'm going to scout a prospect, there's only so many games I can watch a year. I'm going to try to watch these guys against the best defensive competition or the best overall competition to really see what they could be at the NBA level. And then against Syracuse, he looked a little bit flustered when I was there in person. Like, he shot 3 for 11. He shot 1 of 7 on twos. He knocked down 2 of his threes. But I was just kind of impressed by the poise. And the shot didn't fall, and it's not always going to fall. This guy's not going to be like 2024 Reed Shepherd or 2025 Con Knipple with his efficiency. But he's been up to a hell of a start, man. Like, Tennessee, they're a really good basketball team this year. And he had 25 points. He knocked down 3 threes. And he shot 66% from the field. He went 7-11 on twos against Jacoby Gillespie, one of the best guards in the country as well. Now, Jacoby Gillespie, I'm not going to say is like a Jamal Shed of defensive prospects in college, right at the guard position, but it's still a pretty good guy guarding you 100%. Like, Rick Barnes is still a smart college head coach to game plan around Kingston Flemings, and he's looking like somebody that can be a lottery pick right now. I mean, I didn't really know too much about Flemings, like I said, and then I watched that Auburn game, and I'm like, okay, this is a guy to keep an eye on. This is a guy to have in my notes and just be like, you know what? We're going to see the progression of him this year. He's definitely surpassed my Isaiah Harwell, I guess, hopes. Maybe Harwell is going to be like a 2026 guy, but he's been the best Cougar this year. Like, I know Sharp's been good and Tugger's been great defensively, but Flemings has been more impressive, I would say, than Chris Sinak, at least on the offensive end of the floor. And I think he holds his own defensively. And just playing alongside Uzan in the backcourt and Sharp and learning from Kelvin Sampson, one of the best defensive coaches in the country, really makes me intrigued about Kingston Flemings as a 2026 draft prospect because of what he could be as an offensive creator. And we'll see the efficiency. Like, he's going to have some really good Big 12 matchups this year, right? Like, he's going to play Kansas, hopefully, against Darryn Peterson. He's going to play Baylor, who's looked really good this year, and they have their own set of like athletic guards in the backcourt. He's going to play some good teams. So the competition will inevitably get harder for Kingston Flemings. I think they're playing Notre Dame. Actually, you guys will probably know how this game looks. Maybe by the time you guys see this video, it does start at 3:30 Eastern time. But yeah, he's going to have some good competition this year. I'm excited to watch Kingston Flemings, who I think has looked 100% like a lottery pick so far. I don't have him as my number 2, like full-on guard yet, but he's getting close. Labaron Philon is looking like an absolute genius to stay at Alabama. I watched the combine last year. I watched a ton of Philon last year because I thought he was going to go into the 2025 draft, but NIL, like no NIL, he's going into the NBA draft. He's happy to be the 38th pick or the 28th pick and will make a decent amount of money on that contract. I don't know what he's making off the top of my head. I don't even know if it's public what he's making at Alabama this year. It's probably more than what he would have gone if he went in the second round because him and Aiden Holloway have been just tearing it up for the Crimson Tide this year in the backcourt. He's looked like an absolute superstar college scorer. He's 6'4". Talk about Ben. This guy is so shifty around the rim. He can weave through defenses both in transition and within the offensive half court. He's lights out from 3 this year. He's shooting 40% on about 5.5 attempts a night. He's shooting 55% from the field on about 16 attempts a night, 62% on twos. You just love to see that for a guard. Like if I went to like somebody I know, like Jeremiah Fears, right? Who's been good so far as a rookie. Like what did he shoot on twos last year? He shot 50% on twos. I don't know off the top of my head what he shot at the rim. So we're getting 12% more on twos this year from Philon around or within the 3-point line, I should say. 22 points, 6 assists, 2.5 rebounds, 1.4 steals. Another guy that has played like shout out to Alabama. You know, sometimes teams will have like a cakewalk schedule. They're out of conference. That has not been the case for Alabama. Now they've only played 5 games. I think they played Gonzaga yesterday. Who do they play in the Players Era finale today? They play Maryland. And they've been respectable this year, Maryland, but they just also lost, I think, by 40 to Gonzaga. So they played St. John's, a top 10 team in the country. Purdue, arguably the best team in the country. Illinois, a very talented squad with a bunch of like European pros. And then you have Gonzaga as well, who's been underseeded all year and could be a top 5 team in the country. And he's put up 25 points against St. John's, who like prides itself on defense under Rick Pitino. He looks so good at the Garden, kind of like a home game for the Johnnies, and they ended up winning by 7. He ended up having 11 points against Purdue, struggled in that one. That was his bad game this year, going up against like Kaufman Wren, going up against Oscar Clough as the rim protector, Braden Smith, but then bounce back game against Illinois, 24 points, 29-7 against Gonzaga. And watching him against Gonzaga yesterday, the same day that Kingston Flemings had his game against Tennessee, is just making me think like this 2026 draft class for guards is kind of loaded at the top. Something in 2025, like, I don't know, you had Dylan Harper, Knipple, maybe a guard or a wing to you. Trey Johnson, definitely more like a guard. Jeremiah Fears, but I think there's some really high scoring potential from these guards in this class. And it's not just the scoring potential as well. I think all the guards that we're going to talk about, the 4 that I'm going to mention, maybe even the 5th one I'll talk about at the end, are incredible passers and see the floor extremely well that I trust out of the pick and roll right now. And Philon really does look like somebody that could be the 2nd best guard scorer in this draft. Like, I think I like his potential as a pure scorer at the NBA level more than Kingston Flemings and more than the next guy I'm about to talk about. So yeah, I think he is looking like a top 10 pick, depending like where the mocks align. A team maybe needs a guard. I think I like Philon a little bit more than Fears. I was lower on Jeremiah Fears last year, but I definitely like him more than Kasper Jakuchonis, who I also liked in the draft. I liked him more, I think, than Yegor Doman very early in the process. But for Philon, unlike Flemings and the next 2 guys, I did scouting for last year because I thought he could have been in the 2025 draft. All right, second to last guy I want to talk about, Mikel Brown Jr. of the Louisville Cardinals. I mentioned him a ton so far in like any mock draft videos. So Brown Jr., like true freshman, Philon's got more experience for sure. Louisville hasn't had the toughest schedule so far. Like, I want to respect Cincinnati. Kentucky doesn't maybe look as good as we thought going into the year, but still I'm glad that Brown Jr.'s his best game this year was against the toughest competition for Kentucky, who has a lot of veterans on that team, right? Like Otega Owe, you end up bringing back, or you have Denzel Aberdeen. You have, I guess, freshman Malachi Moreno, Brandon Garrison, who hasn't been great this year, Jelon Lowe they got from Pitt, Cam Williams as well. A lot of people liked. Still no Jaden Quaidance, but Mikel Brown Jr. looked like maybe the best player on that floor. He's part of maybe the best backcourt in the country with like Woolley, McNeely, and those guys at Louisville. The efficiency maybe isn't as sexy or flashy as some of the other guys. 42 from the field, 30 from 3 on about 6.5 attempts a night. But what I like, he is very talented at getting to the free throw line right away. He is able to absorb contact. He's not afraid of getting contact at the rim, and he will get guys to bite on the pump fakes. He's going to try to get guys with up and unders, and he's going to try to get to the free throw line where he's a good free throw shooter. 7.5 attempts so far this year, around 86% from the free throw line, 6 assists, 18 points. And I like the confidence from 3. He knocked down 3 threes. He went 3 of 10 against Kentucky. It's been a little bit all over the place, like with some of the efficiency, right? Like, didn't play great against Eastern Michigan, didn't play great against Cincinnati. Louisville, unlike Houston and Alabama, haven't been a part of like the players era. And it's something to keep an eye on in the ACC. Like, the competition in the ACC should still be pretty good this year. Like, UNC is going to be better. Duke's great. You got to shout out, like, I mean, we'll see about like Virginia and Tech and those guys throughout the year. But we got Arkansas in early December. We have Indiana, who's had some nice wins this year. Tennessee against like aforementioned Jacoby Gillespie. So we'll see. And like NC State, Darren Williams, like that's a respectable team under Will Wade. So like, yeah, I don't know. I do feel like, or I should have talked about Ryan Conwell as well for like one of the best backcourt, like part of the best backcourt in the country. But Mikel Brown, maybe not as flashy, but I'm going to trust what I watched from him last year as a top 10 recruit going into Louisville. They touted him as like the most impressive Louisville Cardinal coming in since Donovan Mitchell back in 2017 and 2016. Like, what did Donovan Mitchell put up in his freshman season? Because he was a 2-year guy at Louisville. He put up 31 games, he started 5 of them, 44-25 splits, 7.5 points. Damn. Like, Donovan Mitchell's numbers were good. Like 15.5 points, 40-35 splits, or 40-35, 80 splits. Barely got to the free throw line in 2017. Ends up being the 13th overall pick and is like one of the most efficient guards we've seen in the 2020s. So it's crazy what you could change from your college level. But yeah, I'm excited about Mikel Brown. He's got great size. He looks a little bit more bigger out there, I would say, than Philon. Definitely stronger than Philon, I would say. Maybe a little bit bigger than Flemings, but Flemings, I think, actually looks the part as well. So I'm excited to watch Mikel Brown Jr. over the course of the year. I still think he's a top guard prospect in the draft. It's only been 6 games, and I'm excited to see this stretch for Louisville as well. Arkansas, Indiana, even got to respect Memphis for sure, and Tennessee. Like, that's a very tough 4-game stretch, and I think that's where Mikel Brown Jr. can look like a top 5 pick in this draft. So one guy I'm going to quickly talk about because he's barely played this year, Darryn Peterson. I did talk about like Peterson, DeBance, and Boozer a couple weeks ago or a couple videos ago on this channel, so I'm not going to talk about him too much. I got to see him in person, although he was in street clothes. Peterson looks tall out there. Like, he does look 6'5", listed at 205 on college basketball reference. Not sure what we'll actually see him at the combine, but yeah, he looked the part as a scorer against UNC to start off the year in his first game that I always forget who they played. Green Bay, yeah. Shout out Doug Gottlieb, right? The coach of Green Bay. They've actually had some solid wins this year. But either way, Peterson was my number one guy going into the draft. Like, the prolific prep tape was out of this freaking world, and he looked every part of like a true 3-level scorer, a great athlete, a good guy, or a good guard that could be a lead guard with court vision, that could be your point guard maestro, but could also be an off-ball player as well. I just want to see the sample size from Darryn Peterson this year, because there's some really good games that he could have played in. Like, I would have loved to have watched him. I mean, yeah, I would have loved to have watched him against Notre Dame, because I saw him in person. That's not the best competition that they're going to end up playing all year, but he could have played against Duke, a game that they ended up losing at Madison Square Garden. Like, think about how many like scouts were probably there trying to see what they can or see Peterson go up against a very talented Duke roster loaded with freshmen. So we didn't see him play in their third game. No Princeton, Duke, Notre Dame. They beat Syracuse yesterday as well, who honestly, I was really impressed by Sadiq White in person for Syracuse. And Kyan Anthony has looked a part this year of maybe a 2027 first round guy potentially. But this is like, oh man, they played Tennessee. They played Tennessee today, actually. I think they're part of the Final Four of the I think they're part of the Final Four of the players there. Either way, like, Jacoby Gillespie, Nate Ament, that would have been a fun game for him to play in. UConn, please, I wish he could play in that game. I don't know if he will. I have no idea his timetable. I don't think we really know the severity of the hamstring injury, but him going up against like Silas Demery and potentially, I don't know when Braylon Mullins is going to get back. Probably not that game, but like Terrace Reed and those guys at UConn would be so much freaking fun to watch him in that game. Even Mizzou, North Carolina State, like, he better be back against like ISU and Baylor, because BYU, Texas Tech, Arizona, Utah, like, there's going to be some really good games later in the year. They don't play Houston until February 23rd. Like, it's a minute. But Peterson right now is still my number one player in the draft. I hope that we see 15 plus games from him this year. It's just a little bit of a shame that he had a hamstring injury. It's not his fault, right? It's just kind of unfortunate. And then I'll do like a bonus guy. I only wanted to talk about 4, but since like there's not a lot of film so far on Peterson against like good teams, it's just against UNC. Bennett Stirtz, I want to talk about as well. So Stirtz is like the complete opposite of all those guys. The oldest guy we talked about was Labaron Philon as a sophomore. Bennett Stirtz is a senior, basically kind of like a super senior in a way. He played, or I don't know actually if he's a 5th year guy, but he played D2 last year. You probably heard me talk about him if you listen to my pod. Like, he was a sleeper for me for a little bit out of Drake, and then they end up beating Mizzou and had a good game against Texas Tech in March Madness. Kind of forgot that he played 39 minutes per game this year. And then I watched him play 40 minutes yesterday against Ole Miss, and he was like great. Now, he was way better from 3. His 2-point shot looked a little bit all over the place from the mid-range and around the rim, but 29 points in 40 minutes against a good Ole Miss team, like a very respectable Ole Miss team, I thought was very impressive. The Iowa schedule this year, like Western Illinois, Southeast Missouri State, Chicago State, not going to really look into those games. I haven't watched those games, and I'm probably not going to watch those games until draft prep going into it, just because the level of competition, right? But like Xavier, it was a really good win for them. And then, yeah, beating Ole Miss, he's shooting about 53% on threes, 53% from the field. So you guessed it, 53% on twos this year, 88% from the free throw line, gets to the line a ton. I don't think he has as high of like a scoring ceiling or peak than like Philon, Brown, definitely not Peterson and Kingston Flemings. But man, I just feel like, I don't know, 40 minutes a night. And he's turning the ball over 1.8 times a night as well. He's got can I see his usage rate on this? 22% usage rate. He's got a 70% true shooting percentage, leading the nation in minutes, per game. He's probably going to go up from 37.5 minutes as well. This guy's a true Iron Man out there. I think he's for sure a lottery pick. I'd love to see him go to a team that's going to make the playoffs next year, because he's NBA ready out of the gate. And he's going to be somebody that's like right there in that point guard tier. I would say like overall guards here right now, it's like Peterson for me, Mikel Brown, Philon. Flemings has been intriguing, where I think I would have Flemings maybe over Stirtz. They're right there with each other. And then not like a tier drop off, but then you get into like the Darius Cuffs of the world, who's been a little bit on and off this year as well. And some of those guys like Tonde Yesufu, who struggled a little bit. Dash Daniels has kind of struggled a little bit offensively this year. We haven't seen Braylon Mullins whatsoever, but yeah, this guard class has been a lot of fun to watch this year. I just kind of wanted to talk about those 4 guys and 5 with Bennett Stirtz. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you do enjoy some of these like scouting check-ins, let me know, drop a thumbs up on this video. And this is kind of the random stuff I could do on this channel. I hope you guys did enjoy. I think tomorrow I might have like a trade idea video out. I did one with Anthony Davis. You guys seem to enjoy that. So be on the lookout for that. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.